In this lecture, you will learn how to control program execution using selection statements. Selection statements allow programmers to determine which action to take when there are more than one course of action. Let's say you're writing a script to compute grades for students. You need a way to determine which students are in A category, which students are in B category, or which students are in F category. This is the main use of selection statements. In order to compare two or more values to determine a course of action, we make use of comparison operators. And in PHP, there are about 9 different comparison operators that we can use to determine which course of action to take. Let's start with the most basic one, which is the equal comparison operator. In PHP, to determine if one value is equal to the other, we use the equal comparison operator. So I will declare two variables here. This is going to be A, and I'll set the value to be equal to 7. And then I'll declare another variable B, set the value to be equal to 6. In order to compare if A is equal to 6, we use the equal operator, like I said. So I'm going to just say, let's use vardim this time. Vardim A equal to B. So this is going to check, is A equal to B? Obviously the answer is false. And usually when we are using comparison operators, the return value will be a boolean. All right, let's just terminate the script here. And then we are going to refresh the browser. So this gives us a boolean, which is false. And then if we were to take a specific course of action, we are now going to check if what we are getting from here is true. Then we do one thing. If the result of this expression is false, then we are going to do something else. We're going to get to that, but for now, I'm just going to introduce you to the various operators that are available. So a much stricter way to do this check would be to use the identical operator. That just means I need to add one more equal sign here. So if I have equal, this means is A equal to B, and is A and B of the same data type. So what we're saying is A is 7, B is 6. If A is equal to B and A and B is of the same data type, then this is going to be true. Otherwise, this is going to be false. To illustrate that, we're going to make B equal to 7, and then we do a refresh on the browser. Now we get true because A and B are both equal in terms of value and data type. But if I change B to string, so I'm using the string version of 7, and then we do a refresh on the browser, now we get a false because A and B are no longer the same in terms of data type. B is a string now, while A is an integer. Whereas if I remove one of the equal sign and just use the normal equal operator, it is going to tell us A is equal to 7. Okay, so now it returns true. If you really want to be sure that something is equivalent in terms of the value and the data type, you use the triple equal sign. But if you don't care about the data type, you just want to know if two things are equal, then you use the double equal sign. The next one is the not equal operator. So if we want to check if A is not equal to B, we'll remove this equal sign and replace it with exclamation mark. So the return value in this case will be false because A is actually equal to B. So exclamation mark and equal sign returns true if what we are evaluating is not equal. Let's change this to 5 and then do a refresh on the browser. We still get true. But if we return this back to 7 and then we do a refresh, we're going to get false because actually A is equal to B. But what we are actually trying to check is A not equal to B. So it's very important to take note here. Not equal will return true if A is not equal to B. It will return false if A is equal to B. Then if we want to be strict, as we did previously, we add one more equal sign here. So if I say not equal, so I mean in terms of type and in terms of value. So let's save this and do a refresh. See, it gives me true. The reason why it gives me true is Now it's supposed to return false because A and B is 7, 7. But if you look at our declaration again, B is the string version of 7, while A is the integer version of 7, which means in type and value they are not the same. So if we return this to just the integer version 7, and then do a refresh, we're going to get false. So another way to also do the not equal is to use the less than sign and the greater than sign. So say A not equal to B. This obviously is going to also give us false because A is equal to B. And then if we want to check if A is greater than B, we use the greater than sign. If we want to check if A is less than B, we use the less than sign. So let's illustrate this. A greater than B, this obviously is going to give us false. A less than B is also going to give us false. But if we change this and then do a refresh, and then we can get true. So if we want to say A is greater than or equal to B, we just add the equal sign here. So if we say here 7, then do a refresh, we get true because A is not greater than B, but A is equal to B. And then we can give the value here 9. Do a refresh, we still get true because A is greater than B. The same thing is true if we are checking for less than. A is less than or equal to B. So if we do a refresh, we are going to get false because A is greater than B. The last operator that I want to show you about is the Spaceship Operator, which is actually available from PHP version 7. So this operator basically returns an integer. It can be a positive integer or a negative integer. So let's look at what we have here again. We have A equal to 9 and then B equal to 7. The Spaceship Operator starts with a less than sign, equal sign, and then a greater than sign. So if A is less than B, it is going to return an integer -1. Okay, so let me write this here. A less than B, it returns negative integer. And then A greater than B, it returns positive int 1. This will actually be -1. But if A is equal to B, then it returns 0. So you get the general idea. A is less than B, it is going to return negative int 1. A is greater than B, it is going to return 1. If A is equal to B, then it's going to return 0. So here we have A equal to 9 and then B equal to 7. A is greater than B. Let's do a refresh. Here we get the integer 1 because A is greater than B. So let's say A is less than B. Let's do a refresh. This time it gives us -1. So if A is equal to B, gives us 0. What we are now going to do now is see how to make decisions based on the value of an expression. So when we have two expressions and then we use any of the PHP constructs to compare the values in each of the expression, we can then decide which course of action that we want to take. So the first thing that we want to discuss about is the one-way if statement. This statement will execute an action if a given condition is true. So for example, we want to execute one specific action if A is greater than B. So we set A to 8. Going to get rid of this and then get rid of all of this. So we want to say if A, the variable A, is greater than the variable B, we want to echo A is greater than B. So this is a one-way if statement because we do not check anything if A is less than B. So let's refresh on the browser. 8 is greater than 7. So what if A is not greater than B? Let's refresh. Here nothing is displayed because we're just using the one-way if statement. We are not responding to the situation where A is less than B. We are only trying to handle the situation where A is greater than B. So this is the basic construct of an if statement. You start with the keyword if, open braces, and then close your braces. Then in between the braces, then you put the condition that you want to test. So here we are testing A greater than B. So basically, when we are using if statement, if we are just executing one line of code, if the condition is true or false, then we don't need to use the curly braces here. So this will still execute the way it did previously. See, we still get 8 is greater than 7. So if it's just one statement, you can actually leave it like this. But normally, I would not leave my if statement like this. I prefer to wrap it in curly braces all the time in order to prevent any bug that may occur if you forget. So I'm just going to grab this and then take it within the if statement. So let's now try to handle the situation where A is not greater than B. Remember, if we change this to 6 and then do a refresh on the browser, we are not going to see anything. Okay, but now we want to respond to the situation where A is less than B. So to do that, we use the two-way if statement, which is if and else. So we're going to include the else part. So this is another way of saying if A is not greater than B, do this. If A is greater than B, do the first block of code. Otherwise, do what is inside the second block of code. So I'm just going to copy this and then paste it here. And what we want to do here is say let's say A is less than B. So let's refresh the browser. Here we say 6 is less than 7, which is the correct thing. Next, let us talk about multiple way if statement. The multiple way if statement is used to execute different block of code when there is more than 2 conditions that we want to check. So let's illustrate this by using something different. I'm going to declare a new variable here called score and then set score equal to 92. I'm just going to paste the conditions that we'll check here. So we want to check if score is between 90 to 99, we give you A. If score is between 80 to 89, your grade will be B. And then if score is between 70 to 79, your grade will be C. And then if score is between 60 to 69, your grade will be D. Otherwise, you have failed. So we're going to change this now and say score greater than or equal to 90. And then I'm going to introduce something new. This is double ampersand. This means and in programming. In PHP programming, these are considered logical operators. So I'm going to say score is greater than or equal to 90 and score is less than or equal to 99. So if we want to move it one step further, so let's say 100 and then change this to 100. So assuming we can't allow the student to score 100. So here I'm saying if score is greater than or equal to 90 and score is less than or equal to 100. So for this to be true, the first part of the statement and the second part must both be true. So which means the score must be greater or equal to 90 and the score must be less than or equal to 100. For this, we're going to set grade equal to A. And then for the second scenario, we are checking 80 to 89. And here we're going to introduce something new, which is now else if. Remember last time it's just else, but now we're going to say else if. So basically it's going to be like this, else if, and then we open the curly braces. So in between here, we can then bring the condition in. And then change this to 80, and then change this to 89. So anyone in between this category will get a B. Then we can just copy and duplicate all of this. And then change this to 70, and then change this to 79, change this to C, and then paste it one more time. Change this to 60, change this to 69, and then change this to D. And then finally, if it is not within any of these, we're going to say the person failed. So we can just come here and say echo. All right, so we defined here score equal to 92. Obviously, if we refresh, this should be an A. So grade is A. And then if we change score to something different, let's say 65, and then do a refresh, this is a D. Then if we change score to something less, 35, do a refresh, and then returns an F. So here we are not just testing for only one condition, we are testing several conditions to see which one actually evaluates to true. So in this kind of scenario, we cannot use the simple if-else statement. We have to fall back to using if, as if, and then S.